Well, that's a good question. The claim usually goes like this. Since the US has a high gun ownership rate, it results in a high murder rate. Conversely, since the UK has a low gun ownership rate, it results in a low murder rate. Now, at the risk of reigniting an old parent-child fight, let's take a look and see if that claim makes any sense. Since the media likes to sensationalize things just a bit when it comes to guns, let's just try to stick with the facts when we look at this. Now, it's true that the US has a ton of guns, multiple tons actually, rifles, shotguns, handguns, you name it. In fact, there are so many guns in the US that there is literally one gun for every person in the country. This puts the US in the #1 spot in the world for firearm ownership. The UK, on the other hand, is very different. There are outright bans on many firearms, and what you can get requires a ton of red tape to obtain. As a result, the gun ownership rate in the UK is much lower than that of the US. Because of this, the UK is ranked 88th in terms of world firearm ownership. To speak in real numbers, the US comes in at about 101.5 guns for every 100 people in the country, and the UK only has about 6.7. That's a difference of about 15 times between the two countries. When we look at the gun homicide rate per 100,000 people, the US comes in at 3.6. But the UK comes in at a staggeringly small 0.06. That's a difference of 60 times. So given these numbers, clearly we should ban guns immediately, right? Well, not so fast. What we really need to do is we need to ask the question, do these numbers tell the whole story? What we need to do now is to take a look at another country with a high firearm ownership rate and then compare their numbers to the US and the UK as well. So let's take number 3, Switzerland. Now, the Swiss are great, because when it comes to being an impartial party in a dispute, they have that market cornered. Switzerland has a gun ownership rate of about 1 gun for every 2 people in the country. To use some hard numbers, Switzerland comes in at about 45.7 guns for every 100 people in the country. This puts them almost right in the middle between the US on the high side and the UK on the low side. So how does Switzerland stack up in the gun homicide rate comparison? Well, the number should come in right at about 1.7 or so if the correlation holds, because Switzerland has just under half the guns that the US does. And what did the number actually come in at? Only 0.52. That's much lower than what we would expect. So how does Switzerland rank in the total homicide rate? Well, Switzerland has a rate that is only 0.6. That number is lower than the UK's number. This means that Switzerland has about 7 times the gun ownership rate of the UK, but only has about half of the homicide rate. This theory is busted. So what does this tell us? Well, this means that there is something else at work, namely not firearms, and that's affecting the outcome, and it would be incorrect to blame an object for the actions of individuals.